Karaoke is a platform for young aspiring singers to shine and express their musical abilities. Tune in to CBC TV 8 on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. and repeat it on Saturdays at 2 p.m. and enjoy the performances of these talented young singers.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building a community for all mature audiences. That's why we say Q is good for you. To our Q family, we say thank you for staying connected to Q 100.7 FM. QFM is a state.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, 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 morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning and welcome to another presentation of Morning Barbados. So good to have you in company on this Valentine's Day. I'm bedecked in my red and white, as I'm sure you are as well. So thank you for tuning in to Morning Barbados today. I'm Tisha Hines. I'll be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning. We have a great show planned for you, so I'm hoping that you can stick around for the duration of the show. But if you have to check in because you have things to do this morning, that's absolutely fine as well. So we look forward to sharing with you. Coming up on today's show, we have Andrea Clement, president of Crossing Generations, and Sophia Arundel, who's also with Crossing Generations. And they'll be here to tell us all about a school leavers conference that is coming up. So very interesting, something that we are going to share with you. Judy Vieira, president of Caribbean Actuarial Association, and Nikita Gibson, who is senior vice president of Clarity Life Insurance, will be here to talk about securing tomorrow in the Let's Talk HR segment. So we'll be exploring the dynamics of national social security changes. You note there have been some changes at the national insurance. So how will that impact you, and what do you need to do to secure your future as we age? That's all up for discussion. Plus, we are talking HIV/AIDS research and a recent project with Celia Neblick-Brathwaite. She'll be in to tell us more about the research that she's doing as a Master of Philosophy candidate at the University of the West Indies, Cave campus, and really make the connection as to how that will impact the work that we're doing here generally. The World Thinking Day rally is also coming up, so we're going to have members of the Girl Guides Association of Barbados to tell us more about that big parade and rally and tell us how we can get involved. And a new TV series is coming. Sean Green, who is a part of the archives department, is going to be in to tell us more about that as well. It's called The Songs We Sang. So I look forward to talking to Sean about that today. Before we get into today's show, if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. Good to have you tuned in. Like our very own Michael Sobers, he's not at work. Somebody gave him time off. I don't know who did that. We miss you tremendously, and we want to wish you a happy, happy birthday today. I wish I could play the lyric song for you, but I can't right now. So have a great day today, and I know that you're going to enjoy the day. Make the best of it, and hurry back to work, okay? It's also African History Month or Black Awareness Month. There have been a few names that have been bandied about, but we usually refer to it as Black History Month. So we have a few tidbits coming up for you on that as well. And of course, it's Valentine's Day, but today is also Ash Wednesday. So I'm kind of like sitting on a ledge because usually we say, you know, It's the first day of Lent, and for Lent, you usually don't go all out red, but here I am in bright, bright red on this day. So, a special good morning to those of you who will be going out and going to church early this morning. A wonderful way to set the tone for the season. You know, all the old wives' tales and from Bajan folklore about the Lenten season, right? So be careful, because my grandmother would say the devil out. All right, so be careful as you go about. I guess you have to do that every single day, but all of that ties in with who we are as Barbadians and how our belief systems were kind of strung together over the years. Well, speaking of love, we have a lady who knows the love language, and she's going to join us. No stranger to Morning Barbados. Dr. Denise Charles is in. Today, we want to look at loving yourself, which is very, very important. So we have Dr. Charles, who is an educator, author, life and relationship coach, creative, Renaissance woman. And you can add any other list of positive things behind there, because that doesn't really even touch on half of what she does. So let me say a very special, warm welcome, Happy New Year, and good morning to Dr. Denise Charles. Good morning. Good to have you with us.
Good morning, Tisha. Happy Valentine's Day and happy Valentine's Day, Barbados. Nice to see you.
All right, same here. All right, so let's talk about this loving yourself. And we hear a lot of people say. I came in this morning, and the director on the back row, he said, "Why are you in red? Why aren't you in blackish Ash Wednesday?" So I know he's one of these. He's one of these people who's not for Valentine's Day, I suppose, or maybe he was trying to trick me. But there are a lot of people out here who self love is kind of last on the list. Once they get into love, they think it's all about other people and kind of romantic relationships, and they're always last on the list. How important is it to start with loving yourself?
Well, we are in Ash Wednesday, so I know that some people will be in that religious mode. And the Bible actually says, the Bible talks about loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. So while loving other people is absolutely necessary and important for a quality life, it really begins with love of the self. And God Himself acknowledges this, that we really cannot pour from a space that is empty. So we cannot love other people in the way that they should be loved if we do not have love for ourselves. So love for ourselves is extremely important. It is important for our sense of who we are, having the ability to attach value to ourselves, understanding that we are important, that we do bring something valuable to the table all by ourselves. Because actually, we are born alone, unless you are a twin. And even if you're a twin, you are still an individual. And, so we each have value, we each have something special to offer this world. And that is all wrapped up in the idea that we must love ourselves because we are special, we are created with a divine purpose. We bring something unique to any space, to our families, to our work environment, to our communities. And once we recognize that we have something positive to bring, despite anything negative that may have happened to us. Because the thing about us as human beings, Tisha, is that we attach value to ourselves based on our experiences. So if we've had good experiences in life, if we've had positive experiences as children, if we've come up and people have acknowledged us, they've validated us, we've done well in life, people, clap for us and so on, and say nice things about us, we think that that means that we are worthwhile and that we're valuable, and that if these things don't happen to us, that means that something is wrong with us and we don't have value. But we have to separate our accomplishments and our experiences from our intrinsic worth and our intrinsic value, which is based on the fact that we have been created and designed by a God who cares for us and who understands us individually. He knows us better than we know ourselves. And even for those of us who don't have that religious or that faith perspective, we can still understand that as human beings, we do bring something valuable to the table, and that is worth all the love in the world, and that is love for ourselves.
Absolutely. How does loving ourselves impact the types of relationships that we have with other people?
As I said just now, we can't love others if we do not love ourselves. And I think loving ourselves, sometimes it's misunderstood. And I know we may look at that a little bit later. But if we love ourselves and we understand the value that we bring, then whatever relationships we're in, whether those are familial relationships, romantic relationships, or even relationships with colleagues and so on at work, we are less likely to allow people to take advantage of us. We're less likely to allow ourselves to be used. We're less likely to expose ourselves to continual abuse, whether that abuse be physical, emotional, sexual, or even spiritual. So when we love ourselves and we understand that we are valuable and that, we have something to offer, we are not going to allow people to take advantage of us, to abuse us. Yes, sometimes we get caught up in the abusive actions of others. And sometimes we hold on to people because, we just love them and we want to be there in their lives, but they're not necessarily the best thing for us. And when we recognize that, then we are likely to put ourselves in a more positive space. Sometimes we have to step back from relationships. Sometimes we have to confront individuals lovingly with things that they may be doing or have done that we are not pleased with. But it gives us a voice. Loving ourselves gives us a voice in the context of a relationship, any relationship. It allows us to speak out and to stand up for ourselves.
As parents, how do we start to foster that self-love in our children, particularly at a time where there's so much going on online? Before we could shield the children, a lot of parents would say, keep from bad friends, stay inside, and they could kind of monitor what's happening that way. These days, you really don't know what influences there are, what your children are seeing, you know, and it can be difficult. So what are some of the ways that parents can help foster that self-love in their children even before they become adults or their teens and have to battle with all that's going on in their world?
And very important question, Tisha. And I'm sure you've heard the adage, values are not taught, they're caught. And no matter what we say as parents or as adults, if we don't model what we're speaking about, what we're teaching, then our children will not internalize what we're saying and what we would like them to say, what we would like them to believe about themselves. It's very important that parents themselves have self-love and understand who they are as parents and the value they bring to that parent-child relationship. That's number one. When a parent loves himself or herself and has made peace with his or her past, even if that parent was parented incorrectly, if that parent is self-aware and has made peace, then that parent is able to love that child unconditionally. We have a lot of parents who struggle with parenting because they're really dealing with their own demons. They're dealing with a lot of situations and so on of bad parenting that they have experienced, and they are hurt. They're actually hurt by their own parents, hurt by their own grandparents, hurt by their childhood experiences. And what that does is that brings them into a space of anger. And they parent with a lot of anger. They're always angry at their children. They're always shouting at their children. They only know to tell their children no. And because of that, the parent-child relationship is damaged and the child believes negative things about himself or herself. When that condition of self-love in the parent is met, the parent is in a better space to teach his or her own child how to love himself or herself. Because the parent is demonstrating it, the parent is loving from a position of having been healed or even working through challenges, because we don't always have to have everything perfect. But once we are aware of our challenges and we are working through them, that puts us in a better space to love other people. And when that parent is able to communicate love to that child, then I think it is easier for him or her to communicate the need for that child to love the self, because you're modeling this thing. You're explaining to your child, you're validating and affirming your child. You're telling your child, you're beautiful, you mean a lot to me. I love you, even if you don't always get it right. Yes, you've done this wrong thing. I'm going to punish you in this way, or I'm going to discipline you in this way, but that does not mean I do not love you. If that is the type of relationship the parent have for the child learns that he or she is important. And it is very easy for that child to love himself or herself because they feel loved. You understand what I'm saying? It's not a matter of just saying you're important, you have to love yourself. It's not a command you can tell someone. It is something you have to demonstrate to them, which enables them and empowers them to be able to feel that way about themselves.
What advice then would you give to people who might be struggling with self-love for whatever reasons, because again, self-image, self-confidence, and so on, they all kind of tie in to loving yourself. So, what advice would you give to anyone of any age who might be struggling with self-love, or is not even able to recognize that they're not practicing true self love? Because some people just don't know what it looks like. I have a friend, I said, come on, go easy on my friend. I tell her that all the time, give her a break. And I'm talking about her, you know? So
Yes.
some people just don't recognize it. So, how do you maybe first recognize it? And then what do you do to kind of get into that space?
Recognizing it is contingent on being honest with yourself. What are things that you tend to say about yourself? If I ask you to describe yourself, do you struggle to say something nice about you? Do you struggle? Do you feel guilty about affirming yourself, about saying that you're good at this or good at that, or that you like this or you like that? You know, we're not raised in a culture where we are able to celebrate ourselves. And sometimes when we begin to do it, it is viewed as pride, or who does she think she is, or who does he think he is? You know, you're not all of that. You know, that's the type of attitude we get towards people culturally, because our culture has not been one at the level of the family traditionally. And I'm speaking about traditionally. I know a lot of us are now breaking those cycles, or as what some will say, we're breaking those generational curses. A lot of us are breaking that by the way in which we raise our children, but we have not been raised in that type of culture where the individual is free within the context of family, especially, to celebrate himself or herself. Now that we are leaning more into the 21st century culture, the digital age, and what I call a selfie culture, we have to look to bring a balance and understand that there's a difference between self-love and narcissism. Okay, because if you go on TikTok or you go on Instagram, you see so many people celebrating their possessions, you know, celebrating their cars or their houses, or celebrate. I'm not saying it's wrong to say what you have or to show what you have, but sometimes I wonder where the value lies in some of this. Are we saying that I am a better person because I have a big house? I'm a better person because I dress a particular way? I go to a restaurant regularly. Am I saying that these things make me better than other people who don't? You know, so we have to be careful of what is being promoted, even in our journey towards self-love. We have to be very self-compassionate. And something I say all the time is that if you can only say positive things about yourself, but you're unable to look yourself in the mirror and admit where you have flaws and where you need to grow and where you need to change, then that is going to be a hindrance towards your loving yourself. Because to love you, you have to be honest about you. Um, yes, you have to balance between being your harshest critic and being self-compassionate. So yes, be self-compassionate, be reflective, understand you're not always going to get it right. You are not perfect. You know, life is a journey. If you have perfection as your goal, nothing wrong with that. Christ said, be perfect, even as I am perfect. But that perfection is a journey, and it is bound up in understanding that I'm going to go against the grain of popular culture. You're not enough. You know, everybody says, I'm enough, I'm enough. If you're enough, then you don't need to change. You don't need to grow. You don't need to develop. You know, you are valuable, yes, but you need to see who you are. You need God, because you need to rely on a higher power than yourself to enable you to be the best that you can be. So it is that dynamic. It's balancing between being self-compassionate and also understanding where you need to change and where you need to grow.
That's very important.
Not self-obsession, okay? It's not selfishness. It is not narcissism. Those are some of the things we tend to associate with it. It's none of those things.
It's so hard to identify, though, Dr. Charles, because sometimes, you know, I guess I'm one of those people that they would deem an older millennial, because that's what you call me
Yeah.
now. But then, you know, you see some younger people walking around and they're like, hey, hey, hey. And I'm like, what? Like, who does
Yeah.
that? You know, so it's just very weird. I think that it's important to kind of
And then as
identify the
you know,
differences. You know, the differences, kind of where and when. But and then when I see this, because we all take selfies and photos and so on,
and nothing
but
wrong.
but
I
there's nothing wrong with that. When I see you sitting at a table with four people, you're out to dinner or you're out together and nobody's talking, but everybody's kind of self-absorbed and into their phone, then you know that's a little different for me.
That's right. Because we were designed to be relational, you know, and being able to talk to people, being able to relate to other people, being able to listen to other people, being able to give yourself. to someone else. And when I say give yourself, I mean you expose who you are in your various spheres, in your various relationships. You expose who you are, at least to a certain extent, at work. You expose yourself in the context of your family, in the context of your social engagements, and so on. You expose yourself at different levels, and that's a part of being human. And it's a part of understanding your value and your worth and what you bring to each of those contexts. If you're unable to do that, if you're not mature enough to be able to have a conversation, to listen to someone, then you're really in need of personal growth and development. And the obsession with selfies and the obsession with marketing yourself or branding yourself in a particular way online, which is not necessarily true, it's an image that you're creating, then you're not in a space to really love yourself because you don't really understand who you are. And I think this comes with growth, it comes with exposure, it comes with dialogue, and these are the kinds of conversations we need to have with our younger people, with our teenagers who are so impressionable, and our preteens who are spending an inordinate amount of time online. We need to have these conversations with them because they have to be able to separate between the real world and the world that is created on social media. And we need to have our children grounded in reality, while at the same time explaining to them the role that branding ourselves can play in future employment, in content creation, etc. But at the same time, if you're selling products, if you're selling a service, we may want to brand ourselves a particular way. So it does have a role to play, but it is not the be all and the end all or the sum total of who we are. And we have to be able to celebrate that. We have to be able to separate, between the two worlds, the digital world and the real world. And, some people also believe in being their authentic selves. They allow everything to hang out on social media. They're not hiding anything. That is another area for another time for discussion. But you understand what I'm saying in terms of being able to bring that balance.
Absolutely. I want to thank you for sharing with us. I definitely have to do a little bit of research because the lines can be so thin when you think about what self-love is and all of that other stuff that we really need to consider it closely to take care and show our best selves at all times. Thank you, Dr. Charles.
Tisha, have a great day.
And to you, happy Valentine's Day to you and the hubby.
Thank you.
Always great to speak with Dr. Charles. Just about 8 minutes to go before 7 o'clock. Stay with us because we have so much more to come here on Morning Barbados. Coming up next, we're talking about Crossing Generations, Inc. and the School Leavers Conference. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Are you a youth group, 4-H club, school, Cub Scout or Brownie Pack, or any organization or club with children ages 4 to 11 years? If yes is the answer, then we at Fun School, we're looking for you. Let's have fun singing, dancing, listening to amazing stories, doing craft, and so much more. I'm such a kid at heart. But to be part of this fun and exciting new season of Fun School, just simply send an email to Alicia Alves Grant at aagrant@cbc.bb for further details. Fun School is back, and we're looking for you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And together we will travel the world.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you indeed. Welcome back to today's presentation of Morning Barbados. I have to say a very special good morning to Andrea Clement, who is president of Crossing Generations Inc., and Sophia Arundel, who is also with Crossing Generations Inc. And today they're talking about hosting their first event as a business, a school leavers conference. Always interesting to hear about things for school leavers to help them get on track. So good morning and welcome to both ladies. Good to have you with us.
Good
Good morning to you,
morning.
Tisha. Good morning to Barbados.
Yeah, and the ladies are both wearing green. I didn't get the memo. Somebody told me to wear red.
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Yeah, she's not
Yes, happy
biting.
Valentine's.
Yeah, they're not biting. They're going with the green. All right, so let's jump in to talking about this school leavers conference. I'm going to start with you, Miss Madam President. Tell me a little bit about crossing generations and how it came to be.
Thank you. Good morning again to everybody. Crossing Generations evolved out of a ministry at our local church, Restoration Ministries International, and we decided that the ministry had to go further than just the church or the activities we would have done in the past. So we decided to actually register the business or the organization as a business, and that was done in September of 2018.
All right, so
And to add to that, to add to that,
no, sorry,
it's a
go ahead.
mentoring organization across the board.
All right,
So we're
excellent.
cross generational. We're trying to impact young people as well as our older generation
All
and
right, good
bridge the
stuff.
gap between those two ages.
So that's a good segue then for Sophia to talk to us about precisely what you do and the types of people who are involved with this particular offshoot of the church.
Hi again, everyone. Um, well, my role in the organization is that of the, sorry,
Activities
activities
coordinator.
coordinator, right? And we have met as an organization and planned various activities, which, as Andrea would have spoken, would encapsulate binding of youth and adults, and the School Leavers Conference is going to be our first activity. What we aim to do is to just get persons to not forget that they matter to each other. So, in doing the conference, we are going to be educating young persons on how to prepare themselves for the world of work. And in so doing, obviously, they will be interacting with the older generation. And then we want older persons to see the value of having young persons around them. So that is one of the main things the whole organization will be focusing on as a whole in terms of counseling and mentoring and coaching and empowering. So
All right.
whatever activities that I can plan with the aid of persons, even encouraging others to come on board with us, that is my role.
That's a lot happening. So talk to us about this particular conference, Madam President, and how you're going to engage young people. Are you only reaching out to members of the church, or can members of the community at large be a part of it?
Okay, so this activity is actually spans a wide range. We decided that initially we would have partnered with some of our secondary schools, so we would have touched base with a lot of the secondary schools across Barbados, every parish practically. So while we wanted to target the young people, we still have opened it up to general public, whether in church, whether in the community, it doesn't matter. Whoever is interested, they're allowed to participate.
All right, so you're looking to bridge the gap between adults and youth by facilitating a series of various activities. And on Saturday, the 17th, which is Saturday coming, you'll be hosting that
Yes.
business school leavers conference. Who are some of the speakers? What are some of the major things that we can expect at this particular conference that would help school leavers, I would imagine, to determine a path forward?
Okay, Sophie, do you want to take this or let me start?
Sure. Um, our speakers would be, we have a Chanel Durant. Um, she will be targeting the area of preparing for work, actually preparing for work and the human resources aspect. And then we have Carla Haynes. She is also going to be touching more along the lines of dressing for success. We asked her to cover that area, but obviously that we still want persons to be able to address the areas that they know through their experiences in their various jobs to help the young persons. Those are going to be the in-person presenters, but then we also will be having video footage with persons from as far as New York who will be speaking as it relates to their experiences as entrepreneurs. So we have a LaShawn Vanderstoop Charles, and then we also have Jason Bess and Althea Brown. Those are the ones that we have specifically, but then we have invited other persons because we really would like it to be a packed event so that the young persons would have every opportunity of being educated on a wide stream of how to get prepared for the world of work.
And is there a registration process? How do people get involved? Tell us.
Okay, so for the registration process, it's pretty simple. Myself and Sophia, we have our contact numbers. My contact number is 233-7999, and Sophia can be reached at 236-6176, as well as one of our members, Manda Boyce. She can be reached at 824-7925, or persons can register at our official business email, crossinggenerationsinc@gmail.com. And once we connect with you, it's an easy registration process, and we can go from there. We start our receipts right up, and we just connect, and we will link up on Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
I
Very
don't
simple.
I don't know if it's because you ladies are up so early, but you don't seem excited about this conference at all.
I'm excited. I'm just not a morning
No,
person, so I'm trying my
we can
best
t- we can
at
tell.
this early morning hour.
We can
It's
tell,
probably
believe
the
me.
year.
Yeah,
My
but
voice is now waking up, actually.
all right, so I think it's a great initiative. As I said before, anything to do with young people and helping them to get on a great path because that's the age where you're kind of trying to determine where you take your life. So I wish you all the very best on the conference coming up this weekend, and I hope you get a lot of people from the general community coming out and being a part of it as well.
We do
Thank you
hope
so
that
much,
as well.
Giselle. Can I
All right.
add,
Thank
though, I
you.
want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. Some persons have sponsored at least 11 spaces for the conference. So those spaces are open, especially to persons who cannot afford being there because we have a very small fee of $25. But we have persons who have sponsored 11 spaces, and those are open to
Yes.
persons who aren't able to afford it.
All right. Well, excellent. Thank you both. And again, I wish you the
Thank you
best for
so
the
much.
conference coming up this weekend. Have a good one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Have a
much.
good morning.
Thank
Enjoy your
Okay.
Valentine's Day.
I intend
Yes,
to.
please.
All right. You too. Have a great day. We're going to take another break and come on back here on Morning Barbados. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
Oh, hi. My name is Stacey Whitaker, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist and a member of the Heart and Stroke Childhood Obesity Prevention Coalition. My motto is when in doubt, leave it out, and it goes for when I'm eating, because sometimes things have ingredients that we're not sure of, and I like to keep it simple. And if I'm eating something and I'm not sure the ingredients in that particular thing, then I choose to leave it out. So I keep my snacking simple with fruit, nuts, or just water. It's easy to remember.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, it's 7:05 on this Ash Wednesday, on this Valentine's Day. So lots happening today. We're always happy to talk HR through the Human Resources Management Association of Barbados. And I see we're already joined by two beautiful ladies on this day. We have Judy Vieira, President of Caribbean Actuarial Association, and Nikita Gibson, Senior VP of Clarity Life Insurance. Good morning, ladies, and welcome.
Good morning, Morning Barbados.
All of the pleasantries of all of the things happening on this very busy day aside, let's start by looking at, of course, we're talking about securing tomorrow generally, but specifically exploring the dynamics of national social security changes. And for regular Barbadians, I don't think that we have gotten in the habit of talking about social security. A lot of people talk about national insurance or they know about benefits, but now even that name is into the title of or the name of the revamped organization. So we might need to look at that a little bit. But what are some of the primary motivations behind the recent changes that we've seen at the National Insurance, now the National Insurance and Social Security Service for you, Ms. Vieira? What are what's behind some of these changes that we're seeing?
Okay, well, first off, we have to remember the NIS of Barbados started eons ago in 1967, and since then, here we are, fast forward, we're in the 21st century. Life has evolved significantly. Family structure, the demographics of Barbados, economic environment, and certainly technology. And with that, the NIS definitely had to evolve and adapt with the times. But in doing that, any reforms always had to be very mindful and aware of key objectives. That is coverage, how many everybody should be covered, employed and self-employed. Are the benefits adequate to ensure we have dignified lives during retirement? Is it affordable for the contributors, employee and employers? And sustainability. I'm sure everybody's tired hearing that word, but it is also very important. Sustainability for the long term. And all of that has to be done under the umbrella of good, sound governance. So one of the first things during the past few years, the expenditure of the NIS or the NIF has been more than the contribution income that has been coming in. So yes, they've been able to meet the benefit payments and other expenses that they have, but it means they have to use all of that contribution income and dip into some of the investment income. So what is happening? And yes, the NIS has $4.2 billion in reserves right now, which is 5 times how much the annual expenditure is. And that sounds great. It sounds really sound. But based on the projections that we are seeing, because our expenditures are more than the contribution income that we're bringing in, those reserves are projected to be depleted by about, best estimate, mid-2030s, 2034 or so. When you think about that, in the next 10 years. So they needed to make the changes now to ensure the long-term sustainability of the NIS. Another key thing that was happening is it's the unavoidable truth is the changing demographics of Barbados. Low fertility rate. Low fertility rate means a relatively smaller working population. If we have a smaller working population, that means less contribution income coming in to the NIF. And at the same time, we also have improved life expectancy. Now, that also too sounds great. We're all living longer. But that then puts a strain on social funds and social benefits because we're having an aging of the population of Barbados. So and as a result of that, what is projected is that we are paying out more and more pensions and the amount in pensions, and we are having relatively less and less workers to support the payment of those pensions. So changes needed to be made. And another significant one is the low growth in the economy, which started, quite frankly, with the global economic crisis of late 2008. And then that was further compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic, which we know we are all now sort of coming out of. So I would say those were the three primary motivations. There are other things, of course, to try and improve the compliance and the administrative efficiencies of the NIS, and to prevent abuse of the system, because some people, quite frankly, would try and contribute the maximum for the 5 years prior to retirement so they could get the maximum benefit. So that's another change that required another change. And that's why you see the change in the formula from best 5 years of earnings to the best 10 years of earnings.
All right, so
Yeah,
that's quite a lot for us to kind of ingest. So I'm going to depend a little bit more on you, Miss Gibson, to kind of break it down a little bit more for us in kind of bite-sized chunks as to how all of these changes or how policymakers envision that these changes will impact regular people, just or general population economically in terms of their well-being and things of that nature. How is it going to impact us?
So I can't say that I can speak for policymakers, but I'll give you my perspective on that. I think the aim here was to actually make our social security a lot more, a lot better for everybody, whether it be emotionally, mentally, physically, and most importantly, financially healthy, right? The important contributing factor here was to achieve the goal is for a person to have some level of financial security during periods of financial disruption. One of the things that actually came about of these changes was also the fact that there's a greater scope or look into entrepreneurs as well in terms of their contributions, what their benefits will be, etc. And that is something that's a bit new to the scheme, as well as an adjustment to what was already existing for entrepreneurs. And I think a lot of that came out of the COVID-19 pandemic, as Judy would have mentioned, simply because we saw that there were so many persons who were significantly impacted by the pandemic, especially entrepreneurs who were not able to play their trade, etc. So I think what they really envisioned was that this would take our society to the next level, given that we only had approximately 10 years left in the fund. Ideally, they were looking to extend those 10 years. They're looking at multiple ways in which they can address all of the concerns of the Social Security scheme, such as the aging population, as Judy would have mentioned as well, the longevity. They're looking at ways in which they can get more contributions in, but be able to pay out benefits to allow persons to have a social and financial well-being. And I think that that is what their main focus was when they started to take a look at some of these changes. I think it was a great idea for the change in name to include Social Security, because that's exactly what it is. It's a social policy, it's Social Security. It's there for those who need it the most, and it's there for those who may not need it, but it's still available to them. And that is essentially what it is that the scheme is trying to achieve.
Now, I know that all of these various factors that you both listed were taken into consideration generally in terms of how things have changed. But what are some of these major and subtle changes that people can look forward to that might impact them most? I'd like to highlight those particular things. I know for you, Miss Gibson, you mentioned the aging population. I know that's a factor, but there must be other factors that have been taken into consideration to account for the changes. For example, the new pensionable age and things of that nature. Miss Vieira.
Oh, well, one thing also too I wanted to add to what Nikita was saying, and also it feeds into your question. They also took into consideration a growing, and Nikita hinted at it, there's a growing segment of the employed population that is self-employed. They estimate that's about 30% of the employed population, but yet they have a relatively low compliance, maybe about less than 15-20% of them actually comply. And that's another change in the reform. They wanted to make it the NIS Social Security more palatable for the self-employed population, easier for them to contribute. So they can contribute when they want, how much they want. They can do it, use of technology, online, etc. And what they also have to do with that is to go out in the field and educate the self-employed the importance and the value of contributing to the NIS. Because if you're a hairdresser or a fisherman or a taximan, and for instance, you break your arm and you have not contributed, at least you can fall back to the NIS and make a claim for some level of benefit. And certainly for you and your family, this is a good thing to do. I mean, and specifically addressing the issue of the pensionable age. Again, just to point out, I know there were a series of public consultations, and it was made very clear we would not accept pensionable age as high as 70. We've worked hard, we're tired, we're ready to go into that next phase of life and relax and enjoy ourselves. So some sort of compromise was made, where the pensionable age will increase from 67 to 67 and a half to 68 by the year 2034. Now, that's a fairly long time to phase in that, so that's not particularly harsh for individuals. And we must remember, again, as I said, back in 1967, when this started, life expectancy was to age 68, and the pensionable age was 60. Here we are now in 2020. Yes, the pensionable age has gradually increased over time. We are now at age 67, yes, currently. And if you make it to age 67, think about this. If you make it to age 67, your life expectancy at that point in time is 15 years for males and about 18 years for females. So NIS has to pay out pensions for that extended period of time. The life expectancies are just going to continue to increase. So NIS, again, has to adapt with the times. They need to gradually increase the pensionable age as life expectancies increase, so they can manage and control strategically the average payout period that they have to pay these pensions. Even if we go as high as 2050, life expectancies at age 67, if we made no changes, is about 17 years, another 2 years for males, and 20 years on average for females. It may not sound a lot to the individual. That only means a couple more months, you might say to yourself. But for the NIS, where they are faced with paying, remember I said there's an aging of the population. So where they are faced with paying more and more pensions to more and more pensioners, amount of pensions, in addition to which you have the cost of living increases that are legislated, every extra 6 months or extra year that the NIS has to pay all these collective pension amounts to all of these pensioners, it adds up, and it would put a financial strain on the fund. So it was only natural that the one of the reform measures is a gradual increase of the pensionable age, and not to age 70. They listened, they heard in all the public consultations. So that was one of the key things.
All right. So, what would be your advice, Ms. Gibson, for businesses and individuals alike, entrepreneurs and so on, to be able to readily or easily adapt to these major changes that are now happening?
Okay, so what I will say is a little bit twofold. My perspective is one where I believe that businesses and individuals, obviously, they need to comply to the changes of the scheme. But there's one critical thing that persons are also missing in this consultation, the conversation, is the fact that although the pensionable age is 67, going to be 67 and a half, and then 68, the reality is that you don't have to retire at those ages. Really and truly, your retirement age is solely based on you, a decision that you make when you are ready and financially able to do so. So what I actually encourage individuals and businesses to do is to consider looking at retirement plans outside of the Social Security scheme and still continue to contribute, of course, but they should also take into consideration independent retirement plans. At this day and age in the 21st century, no one should be relying on solely one source for retirement savings. That's why I think a lot of companies in Barbados do have group pension plans, and I encourage employees to be a part of those plans. And then, of course, if your company doesn't have a group plan, that you could look into an individual plan yourself. Now, apart from that, the success of the NAS depends on all stakeholders complying with the law and contributing to the NAS. We will all benefit, maybe some more than others, which is something that's always key. But employees should ensure that their employer is submitting their contributions to the NAS when required. And that's something that a lot of people generally don't know. You can actually call the NAS and confirm that your contributions are up to date, and that your employer is making all of your contributions on your behalf. Now, some of the other things to take into consideration in terms of the proactively adapting to this landscape is to consider the fact that growing population and robust, healthy, and growing economy generates employment and real wage increases. So when we see that our scheme is actually being progressive, we expect that those are things that are going to filter down into the other economic factors, increased wages, reduction on unemployment rates, etc. So we have to go beyond just looking at the Social Security scheme as, now I need to retire much later in life and I need to make more contributions, etc. You need to go beyond that thought, not just think about now, but also think about the future. The benefits will be there for you for the future. And then also think about the fact that it's a social security scheme for a reason. I think the key word there is social. And the benefits or your contribution to the social security scheme are not just for you. They're actually for the entire population to benefit. So those are just some of the things that I think that we should also take into consideration. Businesses really need to ensure that they budget and they manage of the NAS. And of course, I encourage as many companies as possible to start a group pension plan or even encourage their employees to have individual pension plans apart from their NAS contributions.
All right.
If I can just,
there's also,
if I can just
there's
add,
also, hang on, there's also a big change in what we see to be employment and how people are employed. So there are a lot of people who are now a part of what a lot of people call the gig economy. So it's not necessarily entrepreneurship, but there are a lot of people who do full-time work but are considered part-time employees, and they're expected to pay their own way and things like that. And a lot of these people are the people who are falling through the cracks. So what I wanted for you is to be able to offer some advice, Miss Vera, for those particular people who might not see at this time, particularly younger people who are engaged in that type of work, how important it is for them to be able to help to secure their futures as well.
Right. So I will just add, as I'd mentioned before, this growing self-employed population, and added to that the gig population when everybody has a side hustle. And I'm hoping that the public consultations that the NS and government has had all of last year has really opened up the conversations for everyone, and everybody has become a little bit more acutely aware of the importance of the NIS, why you should comply with it, and all the very good benefits that you get from the NIS. So that's one thing. Understand and appreciate the NIS, and hopefully radio shows like this, etc., help to add value to that. Persons can also look at reputable financial institutions, to see insurance companies, etc., and see what sort of private savings plans are being offered, or private retirement savings plans are being offered, that they too can set aside. And we all know the old adage, you set aside money for a rainy day. Just as the NIS has set aside reserves for unforeseen circumstances, even though you are employed and you have your side hustle, try and set aside a certain percentage, be disciplined, and set that money aside in a savings account, in a private retirement savings account. And as I said, look to your reputable financial institutions. What I was just wanting to add very quickly to what Nikita was saying in terms of if you are lucky to have your employer providing a pension plan for you, also look into voluntary contributions. You can add to your employer's private pension plan if you have the opportunity to participate. Some people like to avoid participation in those plans, but it is for your benefit. Please, if you have it, participate in your employer provided plan and see if you can make additional voluntary contributions. All of this will help you for your future retirement years, which are inevitable. It will come.
Absolutely. I think it's important for companies that are involved. And I've heard you ladies say many, many times over this morning that you should really look into reputable financial institutions and the like for your individual retirement plans and so on. But as someone who invested in the past and got burnt, I feel like a lot of Barbadians, a lot of people are reluctant to go in that direction. So I think the onus really is on some of the institutions that are here to share a little bit more about the stability that they bring. Because there are a lot of people who are still kind of reeling from the effects of what has happened over time. So as a young woman who did my research, I started very early and lost very early, so I still have a little time to go. But let's consider people who are now maybe of my age and a little older who want to start. They might need a little hand holding and a little help, a little more information to be able to make those good decisions to ensure that they're securing their futures, as we are saying. So again, I want to thank you ladies for coming in and sharing with us. I'm going to give you last words to share, just to reinforce all we're talking about, which is really securing tomorrow. So we really have to look at it in a holistic kind of way. So you first, Ms. Gibson, and then we're going to close out on Ms. Vieira.
Thank you, Tisha. So what I'll say here is this. Securing your future is not just the job of the government of Barbados or any government. It's also your job. So as an individual or business, you're also responsible for securing that future, whether it's through group plans, individual plans, contributing as much as you can, contributing and making sure that you fall in line and comply with the laws of that legislate the Social Security scheme. And just remember, the scheme is not just for you, it's for everyone as well. And my final thoughts there would be, I know a number of persons have been burned in various ways when it comes to investing in the past. We have in these institutions such as the Financial Literacy Bureau, for example, that is working feverishly to raise the financial education within Barbados. And I would suggest that anyone who's obviously now looking to figure out what to do, that's one of the good areas to look into, just to see what's out there on the landscape that you could possibly use within your portfolio. And finally, investments are by nature risky. They go up, they go down, they can disappear, they can also multiply. And that's something that we as a society need to be able to be aware of and note that any investment we get into has a possibility of loss, whether no matter how small that loss or how great that loss, there is a possibility of loss. So thank you for that. And thank you for
All
having
right.
me.
Thank you so much. Ms.
Great.
Vera, last word is yours.
Right. Everything that Nikita said, excellent. I fully endorse. And what I want to remind people, just as you demand transparency of the NIS, you want to see audited financial statements, you want to see annual reports, it is your contribution income. You want to know where it's being invested. I will say the same to people in terms of your private pension plans that you may have with your employer. Remember, you have a right, you are entitled to see those plan rules and any financial statements related to your employer's private pension plan. As you mentioned, Tisha, I know a particular company that I'm currently working for. The employees just assumed, yes, the employer was telling the truth and never demanded to see financial statements. And everything went belly up as a result of that, and they lost all of the employer's contributions. So please remember, it's your money. You're entitled to know what's happening with it in a timely manner.
And that's a really great note on which to end, because again, with our culture, and I think you hinted at this, Miss Gibson, in our culture, we kind of sit back and wait for things to happen, and we don't necessarily take charge. Early on, I was also a part of the steering committee of the Financial Literacy Bureau, so I know what you're talking about in terms of getting information out there and getting people interested and involved. And we really need to take what's happening with us financially in hand to be able to, decide what will happen in future. So again, great conversation. I think for a minute we were kind of, trying to find our footing because it's a big task to talk about this, and really to condense it in this short space of time is difficult, but at least I think we started with a conversation that people can build on. So, to give them some insight into where they need to go. So again, thank you so much, Judy Vieira, President of the Caribbean Actuarial Association, and Nikita Gibson, Senior Vice President of Clarity Life Insurance. Have a wonderful day, ladies, and thank you for sharing.
You too. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so make sure you ask some questions. Did you hear that advice? Make sure you ask questions. It's your right to find out what's happening financially with the various plans, whether contributory or non-contributory, whatever you're investing in. Ask questions. Make sure you see audited financial statements and the like to be able to stay on top of what's happening so that you can truly secure tomorrow. It's time for another break. It's 28 minutes before 8 o'clock. When we come back, we're talking Girl Guides. A familiar face is in the place, and we're going to share what's coming up. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
Hi folks, it's Natalie Burke. Y'all remember when we used to have to line up at primary school with our uniform sleeves rolled up so the nurses could give us the injection? Or that bad tasting drop of red liquid that they used to give us with a sugar cube to kill the taste? Wanna know just what I'm talking about?
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, so welcome back. Again, happy Valentine's Day, blessed Ash Wednesday, and all of that wonderful stuff in between. There's so much going on in these days. I can't believe we're halfway through February, right? Time is flying. I guess when you get older, it seems like it just goes by quicker because the young people are just relaxing. You know what I mean? All right, so joining me now is Cecilia Neblett Brathwaite, and she is a Master of Philosophy candidate at the University of the West Indies, Phil campus. Of course, she's no stranger to Morning Barbados either. We've had you here on a number of occasions, wearing a different hat sometimes because of all of the wonderful things that you've done over time. So tell me about this particular initiative as a part of the program that you're taking at UEK Phil.
Well, good morning and happy Valentine's Day to you.
Thank you.
I started on this journey, I think, in 2017. I decided to conduct this study because while working at the National HIV/AIDS Commission, I recognized after COVID that we studied the 15 to 49 age group for the knowledge, attitudes, and practices and behaviors of persons younger. But in looking at some of the surveillance data across the region, I recognize that there is a need to look and research the 50 and over population because of the dearth of data that existed in Barbados and within the region. So I spoke to my director at the time, Dr. Wilcher, and she said it was a great idea. So then I applied to the university to conduct the study in that area. So I did the study that the office would have done alone. Wow. Just to supplement, because it was during COVID time and lack of resources. So I said, look, I'll do some research in this area because I know it would benefit me and the organization.
Well, so talk to me about what you've been able to decipher so far.
The aim of the study was to determine the levels of HIV-related knowledge, attitudes, practices, and behaviors. We want to know about the levels of knowledge that persons 50 and older had as related to HIV and STIs. We were looking at the attitudes of persons 50 years and older. We were looking at the beliefs, because all these things play a part in the behaviors of persons and their vulnerabilities with respect to HIV. We were looking at condom use and condom negotiation. We recognize that persons 50 and older, they were from the baby boomers generation. So you recognize these are like in 1960s and that era. So they didn't have the experience that persons of this age may have. So we did the study with 3 parishes. We did St. George, we did St. James, and we did Christchurch. We chose those areas because I did some research at the Barbados Statistical Department, and I recognized that those parishes had the majority of persons 50 years and older. So the research I did was in 2016 because you recognize that they're now finishing off their studies with the population census. So I recognize that a majority of persons, for example, 40 to 49, they were 18.6% of persons 40 to 49. That's a lot. And you recognize also that the 50 to 59 age group, we had the 18.6 and the 40 to 49 was 22.5. So I say, hey, that's a big chunk in the population that I can conduct this study. So we recognize there that persons, I had the foundation, we used the Erickson model, I used the social cognitive theory, I used the health belief model and the activity theory. The activity theory was because we were looking at active aging, how people age actively. Erickson's model spoke to psychological challenges and the barriers. I looked at the health belief model, we looked at perceived risks. So I also looked at the social cognitive, which looks at the social aspects. So I had the framework so that I can cover all the different dynamics relating to the biological, the social, and the physical, so that I can capture the data I wanted to in the exploratory data that I was conducting. So I recognized that persons are indeed lonely, and that was one of the thematic framework that I got from the data. They are actually lonely. So sometimes they go to places like, for example, Q in the community. And Q in the community came out as a big part of my study. It was not one of the objectives, but it was found in the supplemental data because persons are always saying, hey, look, we love Q in the community. We're 50 and older, we're divorced, we're separated, we're lonely. So they go onto the Q in the community to find relationships, to enjoy themselves, to interact, in the communities. And they recognize that this is a place that any agency, for example, National HIV/AIDS Commission, any person dealing with the elderly can use as a target group to conduct study or to do programs, not only to educate, but to encourage healthy living, healthy lifestyles, active aging. So in my study, I found that loneliness played a major factor. So we have to make sure that we focus on the elderly and loneliness. And the relationship types also played a major focus because we have persons who were divorced, persons who were separated, persons 50 and older had intergenerational sex, transactional sex. And we thought that persons 15 or older were not having sex, but they are indeed sexually engaged.
I don't know who you were talking about.
In doing my study,
well, not me,
some persons felt,
different.
because they're saying, hey, look, this is the time for God. This is the time that persons are usually focusing on God. And
really? That's what's happening?
That's what
Once
they
you
thought.
hit 50, you focus on God?
I am 50 and I so we need to really, really focus on this age group, because I think that even to extend our surveillance data, because we're always having the ads focusing on the younger generation. You see the condom ads focusing on the youth, but we have to make sure that we focus on this segment of the population.
Well, I must tell you that I found, as somebody who has worked with HIV for a long, long time, through my involvement with the CBMP and even through broadcasting, I found that over the years it's kind of fallen off. And I'm sure you can agree because just a year or so ago, I was driving with, my daughter and a few nephews, and a message came over that said, know your status. And it said, know your status about what? But people of a certain age, because that was a tagline for so long, when people said, know your status, we knew they were talking about HIV and AIDS. So I would imagine that your research is looking at also how we are able to share that information with these older people who the messages are there, but they're somewhat muted now because people feel like they've moved past that. HIV, AIDS, they're not what they used to be. We changed the language to living with, which now is true. So now we're hearing about people who are now undetectable. So, it can't be detected in your blood in terms of what's being shared. So to your mind and based on your research, how do we shape those messages in the context of things like transactional sex, which we know happens a great deal. And again, like you said, that's intergenerational. So you have older, a lot of the times, if we're honest, older men, younger women, and it's about rent, and it's about clothes, and it's about, buying things. And people don't want to hear that.
I think that we need to segment our population, because you can't have the same messaging you're going to give to the person 50 to the person 70. You need to segment your populations and create your messages to target these members of the population. And I think that in doing this, we will get a better response. We need to triangulate. We need to do different things. We need to make sure that we have data to support these, because we have a changing paradigm. This is a changing paradigm. This is a new world. So we need to create our messaging, our data. We need to have our statistics. We need to have persons involved that actually understand the nature of behavior change with respect to intergenerational sex and multi-partnering. I recognize that even when I was looking at the health belief model and looking at the medical agencies, recognizing that sometimes you have young doctors, young nurses, they may be uncomfortable having this conversation with the elderly person about sex. So I would like when people come to have the health checks, include an HIV test in the health check, so that we would know accurately, we would have an accurate information, because sometimes persons are not tested, so they may look like though there is a dearth with respect to the old generation, but we want accurate information. So if we can involve the younger nurses in some education, doctors, so that they be able to be more comfortable, because we want to initiate this conversation. So we don't just want you to go to the doctor and have the hypertension and the diabetes. We want that HIV education is also a must, because persons are still having sex.
What's next for your research?
Next to my research, I'm finished, thank the Lord. So next to my research is the findings and the conclusion. And what I want to say, thank you, University of the West Indies. I went to the Salisis conference. There were two of us, me and my colleague, Melanie Shaw, and we were there among all doctors. And it was fabulous. We presented our data, and we did Barbados really, really proud. Thanks to my professor, Dr. Deborah Joseph. She is amazing. She really works hard at assisting us, steering us, guiding us, and I think that this is a project that would be upgraded to the PhD level.
For sure. This is much needed data.
Yes.
And thank you for letting CBC know that we're contributing so heavily, or so much, to taking people out of loneliness
Yes.
especially on this Valentine's Day. But we want to make sure that we love safely.
Yes.
Which is, another theme that we saw coming out in the research that's been done. So I'd like to, we can talk after and we can delve into this research a little bit more, because I know this is only a tip of the iceberg, so to speak, in terms of talking about it and the various ways that we can assist our aging population. Even in the last interview, the president of the Actuarial Association, what she said is people are living longer.
And probably came out as well.
So that means that we definitely need to look at not only how we're securing our futures to do with our finances, but how we're living our lives, social, mental, emotional, medical, all of that is very important. Thank you so much. Always great to see you. You're beautiful in your red.
Thank you, and so are you.
And thank you, and I hope you have a great day today.
I shall have a great day. I love Valentine's. And can I say happy Valentine's Day, Mommy?
Good stuff. Hey, we're going to take a break. And come on back on Morning Barbados. Lots more to do. So little time, but we're going to make it work. Stay with me.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kia Lewis, general practitioner and healthy lifestyle advocate. Good nutrition starts at home. So this school year, I want you to consider packing healthy, nutritious snacks and lunches for your children to carry, rather than having them buy them at school. And don't just pack things you think they should have. Have a discussion and come up with things that you both know they will enjoy.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. It's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
You know why?
My friend, you don't plan to get her? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
I'm Anne St. John, a consultant pediatrician. When packing healthy lunch boxes, do include a fruit, which includes a banana, apple, orange.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
12 minutes to go before 8 o'clock. Now, I told you that the Girl Guides were here and you were going to see a familiar face and meet somebody new. So Margaret Burke is International Commissioner, Girl Guides Association of Barbados. Kimberly Skeet is Public Relations Officer of the Girl Guides Association. That's the hat she's wearing today, not literally, but figuratively. Morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good to have you both with us. The only way I excuse you for wearing blue and white is for the Girl Guides.
Yes, please.
Yes. So talk to me. I'm going to start with you, Kimberly, about what you have coming up, which of course is taking place this Saturday.
Well, we are celebrating with our annual Thinking Day celebrations. This year it's taken the form of a parade and rally. And this is going to be all encompassing all of our girl guides. So we're talking about our blossoms, we're talking about our brownies, our girl guides as well, and our rangers, and our young leaders as well. So we're getting everyone together to be a part of the parade and rally. We will be assembling at Golden Square Freedom Park. That time is around 8:30. Yes, and the rally of itself will take place at Harrison College, but I'll allow our International Commissioner, Margaret, to discuss the link because, as we said, it is World Thinking Day. So this is happening all around the world. Our guiding sisters are celebrating in this rally.
Yes, not necessarily in this rally, but there will be different rallies going on across the world. I know St. Vincent has put out that they will also be having a rally for World Thinking Day. It is actually celebrated on February the 22nd, but we're going to celebrate it on the 17th. Other associations across the world are doing walkathons where they walk and they get messages from their sisters across the world, because World Thinking Day is about connecting with our sisters and finding those friendships again, being together. So that's the thinking behind all of our sections coming together for the biggest day really of guiding.
Tell me what Girl Guides has been able to do through the years.
Girl Guiding has done a lot. I know most people, when they see a brownie or they see a guide, they remember the things they would have learned through guiding. Things like sewing on a button and starting a campfire. Even things like time management, money management, scientific investigations, all of those things we do through guiding. And they reinforce things that girls and young women will be doing during school, but also they focus on advocacy and speaking out about issues that are relevant and doing things that are exciting. And now we're pushing girls more to see themselves as leaders and to push for that equality in gender in the world. So you're going to see a lot more about things like climate change, because that's quite a tag topic now, caring about the environment. And it's funny I say that because the theme for World Thinking Day this year is Our World, Our Thriving Future. And it's part of a triennial theme. It started back in 2022, where the theme was based on environment, but looking through different lens. So in 2022, the lens was that of gender equality. 2023 was that of peace, and now this year it is that of poverty. Hence the theme, Our World, Our Thriving Future.
All right, interesting stuff. What about you, Kimberly? I'm always interested in those people who kind of sit in the position of overseeing what's happening. I myself was a brownie. I think I was driven by all the badges. I had badges going around my back because I just wanted a whole bunch of badges. I wonder if my mother still has the sash somewhere put away because you know she keeps everything. Yeah, but what about you? What piqued your interest in the movement?
I started out as a brownie many years ago at Christchurch Girls, to be exact. And it moved from there. My inspiration came from my then guider, Ingrid Armstrong, who is a senior in the guiding fraternity now, Ingrid Armstrong Walcott. But I went from that to guiding, and then started as a training guider. And somehow, you know, life happens, you fall off in between there, you get your family. But my first daughter came home and said, Mommy, I want to be a brownie. I did not push it. She just came home and said, I want to be a brownie. And that started it. Her sister, who was like year high, became an honorary brownie because she wasn't old enough to become that. And then, as you know, we had COVID. And somewhere in between there, I ended up seeking out a new pack for her to be a part of Blossoms because she was so interested. And somehow I got welcomed back in. And here I am doing the work that I know best, which is being able to speak on behalf of the association. Haven't been a part of it, but what it's done for me now is that it's given me an opportunity to take what I've learned from many years ago, because up to this morning, Margaret and I were speaking about the Days of Thinking Day when it was at Kensington Oval. So that's how long I've been a part of the Girl Guide Association. It hasn't been there in eons.
Not me though. I wasn't there for Kensington.
All right. Well, I want to thank you ladies for sharing. And these organizations are needed now more than ever. I think people would have probably said that throughout the course of the years that have gone by, without recognizing how impactful what you do is to people's lives generally, because we're teaching them skills to cope with life. The Thinking Day coming up. It's a parade and rally. It's going to be happening at Harrison College, but you're rallying the troops where?
We're starting off at Golden Square,
Golden
Freedom Park. And of course, the rally will take place at Harrison College. That starts at 10:30 and it'll go down to 2:30 in the afternoon. And this is an opportunity in our 105th year of celebrating guiding that we encompass as many of those young people, those young girls who want to be a part. So if you are curious about it, this is a good opportunity to come down and see from as little as age 4 for our blossoms right up to our young leaders. We are looking for you. Come out and be a part.
All right, and that's the problem with interviewing presenters. They forget they're being interviewed. So all of a sudden they start looking into the cameras and talking and stuff like that. Thank you ladies for coming in though.
Thank you very much for
sharing.
having
I
us.
wish you the best, and be sure to share with us how things go on Saturday. I'm sure it will go very, very well. Thanks again, Margaret Burke and Kimberly Skeet of the Girl Guides Association. Margaret is International Commissioner, and of course Kimberly from right here at QFM is the PR officer with that organization. Coming up, another presenter who is telling us about something new coming to TVA.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it. Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
I'm Anne St. John, a consultant pediatrician. When packing healthy lunch boxes, do include a fruit, which includes a banana, apple, orange, or grapes to supply fiber. Aim for low-calorie packaged snacks without the mention of flour or sugar amongst the four ingredients on the back label. 1 in 3 children in Barbados is affected by overweight or obesity. Let us join together as parents and care providers to reduce the further development of this chronic non-communicable disease within our communities.
Hi everybody, my name is Stephanie Chase, an educator tasked with providing a safe environment that is conducive to learning for the children in my care. It is therefore very important for me to encourage parents and guardians to get their children vaccinated. Picture this, 30 children in a classroom sharing food, drink, snacks, and work materials, occupying the same space. Now, if one of those children comes to school ill and educational administrators are not aware or informed, the chances of other children in the classroom becoming sick is highly probable. Now you may be asking, why should I get my child vaccinated? Here is the thing, vaccinations work. They safeguard your children from becoming ill or dying from diseases such as mumps, measles, rubella, polio, or tetanus. Now listen very carefully. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has provided very important information for you to make an informed decision. As someone who has been vaccinated as a child and who continues to be vaccinated as an adult, I can assure you that vaccines work. I protect you.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
This week on The Songs We Sang.
Yes, Jesus loves me.
We would have exposed children to, in the music program at school, we would have exposed children to a number of songs in the early years in nursery.
So you not only say it, but you're learning something from it. So it's always good to know the history or the background behind these nursery rhymes.
The Songs We Sang. Sundays at 5:30 p.m., repeated on Wednesdays at 5 p.m.
The songs we sang with Sean Green. Oh
Yes,
my goodness, that looks really interesting. Tell me about how this one came to you. Apart from the obvious.
Well, as Barbadians, we all went to school. We went to different schools, but I realized that we all sang pretty much the same songs. School, nursery, primary, and secondary. And the songs that we sang fit into three categories, basically: nursery rhymes, folk songs, and hymns. And even Barbadians today still sing nursery rhymes that you and I sang. Even our parents probably sang the same nursery rhymes and so on. So it's an opportunity, to look back and share in that. And one thing I noticed in my research is that we're roughly in the same generation. So I'm assuming you.
Sean, you're older than me, man. But I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
A year or two. But most of us sang from the songs of prayers or the ancient and modern.
Hymns, ancient and modern.
Exactly. You can remember any hymns you learned from school?
Listen, I'm a hymn person.
So you went to Louis Lynch, yes?
Yes, I'm a hymn person. I love hymns. And this is my time of year. Lent, my goodness, I love hymns. I had a music teacher who was, she was exceptional. And she really grew that passion for music within us. But we also sang hymns every single morning at prayers, whether it was for games, sometimes we would have the games prayers, the house prayers, the year prayers, or the general full assembly.
Yeah.
But we sang a lot of hymns. Yeah.
So that pretty much, that's what the episodes are about. The first episode will focus on nursery rhymes that we sang. And it's not only talking about the nursery rhymes, but I also, the episodes would have experts coming in to talk about the meanings behind a lot of these songs that we sang. Folk songs, the same thing. We sing a lot of folk songs. We've gone to Brazil and all these songs, and we don't take time out to learn the meaning behind them. So that is what the episodes are all about.
All right, that's good stuff. So you're going to get started on Sunday at 5:30. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
And I recently was at a service where the priest, what he said that really drew me in, he said, we are able to sing certain songs by heart, as we would call it, and those are the songs that kind of help to guide us in troubling times. So he had mentioned that the younger people who now don't have the same experience, maybe it's a challenge for them, because at that time we were singing, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus." So I know that has to be one of the songs that you have on there, Sean. That must have been in there somewhere.
I hope so. I know at Louis Lynch you sang "Morning Has Broken" through all the changing scenes of life. Yeah. Commemorians love to be a pilgrim. If you're listening, you're from Commemore. I know that was one of your songs. So different schools sang different hymns. But
for us, we sang "I Vow to Thee, My Country" a lot.
Especially in November.
We sang that a lot, and there were a lot of hymns. But around this time of year, Lenten season, 40 days, 40. So I know all those songs. They're still in here. I know all of those songs, from my head, from memory. So I look forward to the program. Sean, you have to come back and tell us more about it and share more about the behind the scenes, because I would imagine it would have taken a lot of intergenerational conversations to make it happen.
Yes, it did. And one thing you're going to see in the series is that we have persons from a cross-section of ages. So we're featuring primary school children, one or two of them talking about songs that they sing that we used to sing, secondary school, and but most of the persons you're going to be seeing are teachers and musicians talking about the meanings behind these songs. So yes, the children still, we featured Will Cumberbatch and Warren Primary.
Morning.
Schools that
all right, good
really
stuff.
Assisted us.
I think they're telling us to shut up. Like, how rude. How rude. How incredibly rude. I'm going to think that was a slip of the finger, Ruel. Yeah, but again, thanks, Sean, for coming on. Coming up tomorrow on Morning Barbados, Mr. Executive in School Business and Gentleman's Challenge. That has started with the preliminary round. February is African Awareness Month, and the New Hope Club, they're going to be hosting a lecture, so we're going to share more about that. Bay Primary School celebrating an anniversary, and we get an update on how the 7 dates of intimacy, the 7-day fast program went. My question to you as we part ways today, what are you giving up for Lent? Yeah, it's supposed to be a time of sacrifice. So what are you giving up for Lent, Sean? He has to think about it.
Yeah, I have to think about that one.
Me, I'm giving up sugar, all types of sugar, no added sugar for me.
Good luck.
I'm going to check in with you and see how it goes across the next 40 days and 40 nights. Remember to wear your smiles, do something nice for somebody today. And come on back tomorrow for Morning Barbados. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you.